Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. This is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to talk about Tesla. We're going to talk about SpaceX. We're going to talk about The Boring Company. We're going to talk about X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. A couple of details. First of all, let's start with what everybody's talking about right now. We don't have numbers yet. I'm in Japan. It is 8 a.m. in Japan on Monday. It is 7 p.m. in the United States on Sunday. So today's October 2nd. So here, I expect in the US around noon on October 2nd. I hope everybody can hear me. I hope everything's okay. Um, I expect at noon on October 2nd, or roughly around there, Tesla will report their quarterly numbers for production and deliveries. And before I get to that, I went to the Tesla store in Nagoya. This is in a place called Sakae, and I saw Model Y that's sitting in the showroom, and the lower left corner there, you can see a Model S Plaid that is sitting out on the sidewalk getting charged. And I talked to one of the employees, I had good conversation. I asked him specifically, did the Tesla employees talk about it as Highland? And he said no. And is there any internal communications where they use the word Highland? No, we just call it the new Model 3. So trying to figure out how to position myself here. So I think I'm going to be doing a video about Project Highland in the future because I haven't said enough stupid stuff about Highland yet. I really need to do more. But I want to get to the production and delivery numbers, so let's dive into that. I say that a lot, dive into that. So these are Rob Maurer's numbers for production, and he's calling 430,000. This column, this row, he's calling 430,000 production for Q3, and he's calling for 444,000 deliveries in Q3. The analyst consensus is apparently 454,000. Troy Tesla, these are the two accounts that I think are the most reliable at making these projections, and they're not far off of each other. Troy Tesla's at 441,000 production, or 441,000 deliveries, and 429,000 production. They're both at 429,000 or 430,000 production, and they're reasonably close to each other on deliveries. So, like Rob, I watched Rob's video on this. I don't think the delivery numbers or production numbers for Q3 are that important because there's been a lot of shutdowns. They've been revising manufacturing in China for Model 3. There have been shutdowns of other lines to upgrade things. So there's a lot of reasons why. Yeah, the Daily Lie t-shirt. I'm going to be doing a video on the Daily Lie after this video where I'm going to talk in more depth about Tesla Japan. And I'm going to talk about my own personal plans related to Japan and elsewhere. By the way, this is not, although it looks like a Jewish star, this is actually from the Plaid powertrain that Sandy Munro dissected, the first teardown of the Plaid powertrain. That's what this is from. My friend Brian gave it unbeknownst to me, went out and ordered one and gave it to me as a gift. So thank you for that gift, Brian. I did not bring much with me to Japan. I was very careful about limiting what I brought with me to Japan, and I brought this. And one other thing that I brought, burnt hair. I brought burnt hair to this. That was easy to bring because that's small and light and thin. But there's a lot of packaging that goes with burnt hair, but I haven't opened the burnt hair yet. I probably should do an unboxing of the burnt hair. But I haven't smelled it yet, and I'm not sure I want to smell it. It may be better to leave it unsmelled, but I haven't decided on that yet. So anyway, thank you, Brian. I haven't forgotten you, and I hung you in a special place. I hung it in a special place to express to. So I remember it. It's funny because somebody saw it and said, "Is that a Jewish star?" Like, no, that's from the Plaid powertrain. It's actually the shape is slightly different from a Jewish star if you look closely at it. By the way, okay, so. I agree with Rob Maurer that it's not that while I'm showing off merch, I also brought the Tesla stainless steel water bottle. I use this every day when I go to the gym. I'll use it now. Bring this to the gym every day to show it off and no one in Japan cares. So these production and delivery numbers, whatever the numbers are going to be, my guess would be that Troy is within a few percent, that Rob is close to Troy, so they're both within a few percent. They're not that important. the big question is going to be what happens in Q4. Does the modification of Model 3 and the ramping of Model 3 let them significantly increase production of Model 3 and deliveries of Model 3 for Q4? I'm a little concerned that the timing, that they haven't really gotten Model 3 ramped in China yet, that may affect deliveries and production. Are there other changes going on with Model Y that are going to increase production deliveries of Model Y? That may offset ramping issues with Model 3. How much progress are they going to make on Cybertruck? Will we see meaningful Cybertruck deliveries? We're starting to see Cybertrucks coming out. I think Cybertruck's going to be limited, but I think that's something that's coming. So what? Oh, Mark Plot says we're going to take a side note for a second. Corey Steuben from Monroe and Associates left Monroe and Associates a few weeks ago, and then recently announced he's joined Lucid Motors. All I can say is I hope Corey's getting paid in cash. I hope he's not relying on stock options. I don't think Lucid is going to be a success long term, and if it doesn't go well, I would encourage Corey not to visit any Saudi consulates, especially not with Peter. But I don't hold it against Corey that he's doing this. Let's say, you know, there's hope that Lucid can turn things around. Maybe the Corey's the guy that can help them turn things around. I would love for them to turn it around if they could. Yeah, I don't know what Lucid's numbers are. I'm not. I'm hopeful for Rivian. I'm not anti-Lucid. I just wish they would get their together and do a better job. So, you know, the bigger questions going forward are going to be answered in the earnings call. You know, it's always like the details of the earnings call, not the earnings themselves, but the details of the earnings call, the like sort of future projections when they talk about the future. What light can they shed on progress? You know, hopefully Q3 they're going to say, okay, are they standing on 1.8 million production for 2023? That looks like it's starting to look like it's going to be hard to achieve for 1.8 million production for 2023. Because if you do, you know, 450, you're at 900, but then if you drop down to 430, you know, you've got to get up to like 500 basically to get to 1.8 million. So are they going to get up to 500,000 in Q4 when Model 3 production in China is still ramping and Cybertruck isn't really ramping yet? And is Model Y ramping more? And are they holding back because of demand issues? You know, which is Troy's view. I'm not sure that they're holding back because of demand. Is Berlin ramping more? Is Texas ramping more? I've seen reports that Berlin and Texas are not ramping, they're not increasing or aiming for their maximum production yet because of the demand situation. I don't know. So anyway, that's just this year. Really what matters for Tesla is 2024 and then 2025. Are we going to get hints of Cybertruck production volumes in the future? Are they aiming for 300,000? Are they aiming for 500,000? Are they aiming for 1 million a year? Are we going to get any more hints about the next generation vehicle? My guess is no. I don't think they're going to tell us anything new about that. Are we going to hear anything about any other countries? Is Tesla planning to do anything with India yet? I was just researching this today. Japan is the third largest car market in the world, and the video I'm going to make next on the Daily Lie, I'm going to talk about Tesla Japan. Japan is selling somewhere in the ballpark of 500. Tesla Japan is selling something like 500 vehicles a month. Tesla China sells 50,000 vehicles a month. So China's market is bigger than Japan's, but it's not that much bigger than Japan's. Tesla's selling more cars in France than they're selling in Japan. Japan is the world's third largest car market by country, maybe by revenue as well. Germany's car market is significantly smaller than Japan's. The value may be higher, but I think actually Japan's car market is still pretty strong in terms of prices. So I think Japan is probably the third largest car market by dollar value. And you have to ask, why isn't Tesla selling more in Japan? So that's something I'm going to talk about and some ideas I have for the future of Tesla in Japan. I posted some of these thoughts for subscribers on X, for Patreon supporters, for YouTube channel members, and for Daily Lie supporters. But I'm gonna go into it on a video on the Daily Lie in about 50 minutes. Why do I think the Highland does not have giga castings? Do you think Tesla's going to use a single casting for the 3? So they told us what they did with Model 3. They did a lot of interior design changes. They did some things to improve sound, so it's a quieter ride. I think the coolest thing that's probably coming with Model 3's refresh, which I'm not calling Highland, video coming on that. I have a video coming on what I think Highland really is. I don't think the refresh is Highland. So they didn't have. There was never a report of a new gigacasting machine showing up to Shanghai. So how are they making gigacastings for Model 3? They're already flat out producing gigacastings for Model Y. They don't have the resources to produce a high volume of gigacastings for Model 3. Could they produce a small volume? Sure, but they couldn't produce a high volume. So I don't think gigacastings was an issue, but they did a whole bunch of changes in how they manufacture Model 3 to make it more efficient and to make it a better experience for consumers. And it was the engineering was done by the China engineering team. So that's really cool. Marty Party asked, do a lot of Japanese speak English where you are? Do they understand some English? Yes. Do they speak English well? No. I have found some groups of Japanese people who speak well. So I think I'm making some progress on, and I'm working on my Japanese. I speak Japanese reasonably well. I need a lot of work, but I speak it reasonably well. Any updates on Semi? I don't think Semi is going to have any significant updates until they finish the factory in Nevada. They're going to be building out a new factory at Giga Nevada, or an expansion of Giga Nevada to produce Semi. So I don't expect Semi to production to grow. There was a report that one Semi did 1,000 miles in a day with two or three charging stops in there. That's pretty impressive. Um, Marty Party says probably because Toyota's quashing EVs there. I'm going to talk about what's going on in Japan. I don't think it's just Toyota. Um, Joe Tetmeyer has shown it. Is the 4680 battery becoming obsolete? No, not at all. 4680 battery is cutting edge, and Tesla has already developed a next generation called the Cybercell that's increasing energy density by 10%. They have a number of other iterations coming over the next 3 years that will probably increase the energy density by another 10, 20, 30%, including silicon in the anodes, more Tesla's engineered cathode material. There's a whole bunch of cool things coming. And there may be that there are 4680s with other chemistries coming. So that's cool. And I should mention, I met with I should have a photo. Do I have a photo of this? I don't think I have a photo of this. I met with the electric vehicle team from Shizuoka University this past week, and I actually had a pretty intense conversation with them about battery chemistry. It seems like at least in Japan, the university competition where the students compete with electric vehicles and gas vehicles, but the electric vehicle portion, they use a lithium polymer battery. I don't know if that's all teams or if that's just the Shizuoka team, but they're using lithium polymer, which is a much more expensive battery tech than lithium batteries from like Tesla or Panasonic or whoever, LG Chem. So I was a little puzzled that they're not using like the 1865s that Tesla uses from Panasonic for Model S and Model X Plaid. Like if it can support a Plaid, I think it can support what you need for your car. And like, why don't you guys use an 1865 from Panasonic? I don't think the guys I was talking with actually know the answer of why they're using that battery style. So I wonder if that's an innovation that could happen. But anyway, that was a really good conversation. I have been really impressed with and I'm meeting with today in, I don't know, in about not 12 hours, in like 8 hours. I'm meeting with the team from Nagoya University. Really impressed at these university teams. The same thing happens in the US, same thing happens in India and other countries, I think Europe. These teams of university students put together a vehicle, and in a year, they basically make a vehicle from scratch. And whether it's gas or electric, I'm impressed that they're able to put together a vehicle and make it compete on a track and do all kinds of things, acceleration testing, braking testing, endurance testing, efficiency testing. They do all kinds of cool stuff. And I'm really impressed. And they have to meet all kinds of inspection rules. Some of the design of the vehicles is mandated by the regulations of the race, and I think that that those constraints may be unnecessary in some ways, but and that holds them back from doing better. Maybe it makes it harder, but that's part of the engineering challenge, right? So that's pretty cool. Okay, I want to move on. I don't have any particular other Tesla news to report. I mean, I'm generally hearing good things about the Model 3 refresh. I think you know, uh, there was maybe a surge of clearing of inventory this quarter that should boost delivery numbers a bit, but that doesn't boost production numbers, which is the number we're focused on. I'm really looking out to 2025, and I should say that the thing that I'm most concerned about for Tesla going out, and I posted this on X today. I would encourage, if you don't already follow me on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, I'm WR4NYGOV, Warren Redlich for New York Governor. I'm no longer the candidate for New York Governor, but I was the candidate for New York Governor for the Libertarian Party in 2010. I do post about politics there as well, but I would ask you to follow me there. Subscribe to me there if you can. And I posted there that I think one of the biggest challenges for Tesla, not this year, not next year, not 2025, but really heading out to 2030, Tesla set a target of selling 20 million vehicles a year. I'm not sure they're talking about selling vehicles by 2030. It may be more producing 20 million vehicles and having them operate on a robotaxi network, but let's call it selling 20 million vehicles. Japan is the world's third largest car market. India is the world's fourth largest car market. Tesla right now sells very low volumes in Japan and no cars in India. If you're going to crack 20 million vehicles a year, you probably have to be selling cars in Japan and India. I think Tesla needs a plan for that. I do not see the plan yet. I'm not seeing a solution to this problem. India's car market is particularly difficult because of tariffs, and Elon doesn't want to sell cars that are manufactured somewhere else in India because the tariffs make it cost prohibitive. Is Tesla going to manufacture vehicles in India to get around that? Next generation vehicle, maybe. Is the next generation vehicle still too expensive for the Indian car market? I don't know. Japan, I don't think Tesla needs to manufacture in Japan. They need to crack the market. They need to figure out how to sell cars in Japan. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about India yet, but I don't have solutions for India. I have some ideas about how Tesla can sell more cars in Japan, and that'll be on the Daily Live, Warren Redlich, warrenredlich.locals.com, in about 40 minutes now. When I'm done with this, I'm probably going to finish this before what's 9 a.m. my time and 8 p.m. East Coast time. But I just wanted to go through and cover this stuff, and I'm going to get to. Let me turn to the chat just for a second. Have I watched Oppenheimer the movie? No. Toyota's massive debt is going to make the transition to EVs more problematic for this company. Okay, maybe. CATL's sodium iron hybrid battery was supplied to Tesla via the new CATL factory in China, a cheaper, more energy dense battery than iron phosphate. I don't believe that the sodium batteries are more energy dense than lithium iron phosphate batteries. I think the sodium batteries are going to go into Megapack in the future or Powerwall. Tesla does produce their own batteries, just not in high volume yet. Osborne effect in full play with Tesla. I don't think there's an Osborne effect going on. I don't think that's the problem. Problem is high interest rates in America. Japan, by the way, does not have high interest rates, so we don't have that excuse in Japan. How does the Tesla Standard 3 refreshed audio system sound? I don't know. Tesla did a video on. If you go to the Tesla X account, they did a video on their audio system in the new 3, and it sounds awesome. But I haven't sat in it. They didn't have one at the store in Nagoya yet. They told me that the new Model 3 will be coming to the store to Japan December to February, somewhere in there is when they'll start getting deliveries. What do you think of Mercedes Level 3 driving? I think Mercedes Level 3 driving is pathetic. Like, it can't go more than 40 miles an hour. It can only go on like 0.3% of roads, and it has to be following another car. I mean, I've driven Teslas on highways. They're near perfect in those circumstances. So, yeah, it's more. Thank you, Mark Cloud. It's warrenredlich.locals.com. I'll put it in the. I can pin. Can I pin Mark's? I can pin. I'm pinning it to the top of the chat. Does that work? Oh, that's not a link. Hang on a second. Pin mine to the top of the chat. Hopefully mine works. Yeah. So, do they celebrate Halloween in Japan? I think they do celebrate Halloween in Japan, but it's not the same. They have holidays in Japan. They're not, when they use American holidays in Japan, they don't really use them correctly, whatever. Valentine's Day, I think maybe girls ask boys out or girls give boys gifts or something. And then there's a white day where the boys are supposed to, I forget how it works. It's just different. So, have you seen the bot related movie trailer for the creator? No. Okay. Oh, Rebecca Winderman, the kid's gastrodoc is in the chat. One of my favorite people in the world is Rebecca Winderman, also known as Kids Gastrodoc. Please follow her on YouTube, follow her on X, follow her on Instagram and maybe TikTok. If you're interested in, especially in pediatric gastroenterology, and I mean that in like, why is my kid's poop strange? Or why does my kid's tummy hurt? Then follow Rebecca. Kids Gastrodoc. Check her out. She's in the chat right now. Am I getting a cat? No. Okay, but we'll talk about my personal life on the Daily Lie next in about 40 minutes. So let me move on. I want to talk about just really quick. Starship is stacked and ready for flight. According to Elon, it's ready for flight 2. They are waiting for FAA approval. There's this holdup with Fish and Wildlife, making sure there's no environmental issues. It's not clear whether the FAA is going to hold them up for the Fish and Wildlife review. Based on Elon saying this and everyone saying this, are they really holding it up for Fish and Wildlife to check on some nonsense? I mean, I've been to this spot. This is like borderline desert. There's just not a lot there. It's close to the Rio Grande. Environmental issues, I think we're being silly here if we're worried about environmental issues. To some extent, that's our environmental laws and Endangered Species Act and stuff. But can we go to Mars? Can we really go to? And speaking of, can we go to Mars? Elon says hopefully there'll be a thriving base on Mars in 15 years. The greatest threat to progress for humanity has always been government and always will be government. And right now, government is the greatest threat to progress for humanity because SpaceX wants to take us to Mars and the government is trying to slow us down. Like, why are you slowing us down? This is big. Do I think General Motors and Ford would prefer to go to bankrupt than restructure as opposed to meeting the union's demands and going into a death spiral? Is there another option? I don't know that I can say that GM and Ford have one voice on these things. I think that they are a cluster. So my own opinion, let me just address this. My own opinion is that what's really going on with the United Auto Workers strike, General Motors and Ford, is they are setting the stage for a crisis, and then President Biden will swoop in with a rescue package. He will give General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis enough money that they can pay the workers this ridiculous amount of money they want. Give them a 30% raise, cut their hours from 40 hours a week to 36 hours a week as a compromise. Somehow getting paid more for working less makes sense in the fantasy land of the United Auto Workers. And they'll give Ford and General Motors and Ford and Stellantis enough money to help them survive that problem for a year or two. In that year or two, hopefully Tesla's able to scale up production, meaningfully posing an even greater threat to Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, especially with Cybertruck taking sales in their most profitable segment. And at some point, maybe that becomes a problem. Alex Nutcasio says, hey, Warren, are Japanese chicks hot? I'm going to talk about that more, not that specific question. I'm going to talk about that more on the Daily Lie in about 35 minutes. I would say the simple thing to answer that question is that in America, 40% of people are obese, which means like not just overweight, but extremely overweight. And in Japan, 4% of people are obese. And I actually don't see those people because I think they're staying home. It's people, whether hot or not, people in Japan are thin. I mean, it's actually to some extent shocking to me how thin people are, not just the Japanese people, but the foreigners. I'm still about 200, 205, 210 pounds and 6 feet tall. I go to the gym a lot. I'm trying to eat a lot of protein because I'm trying to build muscle mass. Or I'm trying to lose weight a little bit. I'm still trying to maintain muscle mass. So by Japanese standards, I'm huge. Like in America, I'm like a normal guy. By Japanese standards, I'm just huge. And I'm out with some people, and there's like the guys who are like close to my height, they're like super thin. Like if I'm 200 pounds, they're like 140 or 120 or something. It's crazy. So, and women are thin. What your definition of hot is, I can't answer that question. Do I think they're attractive? Yeah. Um, so the food is, I don't know if the food is better. I think portion sizes are smaller. I do a lot of walking. I was talking to another guy, a bunch of the guys that I know that I've met. I went to a bunch of events where there were more foreigners and was talking about a lot of people. A lot of people like to walk a lot. So if you walk a lot, then you're going to lose weight. Model Y Highland coming. There is no Model Y Highland, but thank you for that entertainment. Okay, so I talked about Starship. I talked about Mars. Let's just quickly mention Starlink is now. I don't know if this is new. I think they were already using optical space lasers. I don't know if this is something that's particularly new or they just had a really good photo of it. But the current latest generation of Starlink satellites have lasers. The lasers communicate with each other. So Starlink will be able to carry internet traffic from, let's say, London to New York without having to drop down to a ground station or whatever. The communication from a Starlink user to another Starlink user, or another Starlink, or a web from one Starlink user to a website, the path will be shorter. Light travels faster in space than it travels in fibers, so you'll get lower latency connections. So there's a lot of improvements going on. Maybe I'll talk about what I'm doing for my health in the daily live video. I see somebody in the chat mentioning it. I can talk about that as well. We'll see. When Starlink IPO, I think Starlink will not IPO until 2025 at the earliest. They do have a substantial volume of satellites up. I think Elon wants it to be consistently profitable before it IPOs. I think if Starlink is growing fast and profitable and consistently profitable, then I think the IPO, because you want to hold it as long as possible to maximize the IPO value. So I think you could easily see an IPO. So SpaceX's own value is somewhere in the ballpark of $150 billion. I think when the IPO Starlink, late 2024 or sometime in 2025, you may see a greater than $100 billion valuation for Starlink alone. And that's a big deal. Can I see Starlink being used for energy transmission? No. No, that's definitely not it. Okay. So talk about the platform X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, or the platform formerly known as Twitter. X News reported that X's monthly active users is an all-time high of 550 million. X platform is growing. Elon calls it progress. And I wanted to stress about this. There's a lot of mainstream media attacks on X indicating there's all kinds of problems at X. There's this, oh my God, I'm going to talk about this in a second. There was an interview with X's CEO, Linda Yaccarino, and it's like a hit piece. It was like an ambush. And the cold hard reality is that X is growing and the media are desperate to act like to portray it as if there's a problem. X is growing. I'm on X a lot. Like if you want to follow me more, like more sort of like, you know, what's going on with Warren and what's going on with Tesla, SpaceX, Boring Company, etc. What's going on in Japan? It's WR4. Put it in here. I'm just going to put the ad. It's in the chat at WR4NYGov. I think there's a link in the video description as well. Follow me on X. I talk about a lot of this stuff, but I find X to be a great platform. I'm spending a lot of time on the platform. I'm interacting with people. There's spaces, there's videos. I think I post my videos on X and they don't perform well. I normally record my live streams. I'm not even bothering to record this one and post it because they just don't perform well yet on X. I might post this one on X. I'd have to wait for it to be ready to download from YouTube. But it's I actually forgot to start recording and I'm okay with that. So I think that X is growing and this is important. X is a free speech platform. If you don't like free speech, okay. I mean, YouTube is very clearly not a free speech platform. They just demonetized Russell Brand. I am very careful what I say on YouTube, and I'm going on the Daily Lie after. One of the reasons I use the Daily Lie is because it is also a free speech platform. I expect long term that X will become a better video platform, but right now, just to be clear, I'm going to be consistently on the Daily Lie and consistently on YouTube because X is not right now a viable video platform for creators like me. We just don't get enough views. People don't watch as long. So For whatever reason, people don't watch as long. My ex is on X. Yeah. Um, so X is growing, and there's a lot of positive change happening, and they're doing a great job. And the media is just doing hit piece after hit piece after hit piece on X because they're terrified of what's happening. So Elon, I'm going to show you the full post that I did. Elon responded to me. This is like 2 or 3 days ago, and he said true to this post. So here's the full post. Yes, I get excited when Elon responds to me. I think it's 3 times in September, so I'm like at an all-time high. But so Linda Yaccarino did this interview with it's Kara Swisher's group. It's on Vox. And I think she should have insisted that it either be live on X or posted on X, or YouTube or whatever, rather than it being a very limited audience and then media reports about what they said. Because what happened was she had this interview. I saw a slew of media reports saying she was terrible, she was awful, so on and so forth. And then fortunately it appeared on YouTube and I watched it. It wasn't bad at all. I mean, here's the truth about what happened is that Linda Yaccarino was publicly scheduled to speak at this event. No surprises anticipated, to be interviewed about what's going on at X. And then something like an hour before she takes the stage, they bring in Yoel Roth, who was at Twitter and was fired, I don't know, 4 weeks in, or left the company 4 weeks in, and basically was part of the problem that was exposed in the Twitter files. Was one of the people. He's like woke left, and very, undermining Twitter. I think he made some kind of effort to support what the transition to X, but ultimately, to Elon's management, but ultimately he left and he started taking shots. So then they bring this guy on, surprise guest, an hour before Linda Yaccarino is going to come on stage. And apparently, I didn't see his talk, but apparently he spent an hour sniping at X and criticizing what they're doing on the platform. But of course, he left, I think, before Linda Yaccarino was even hired. And so he's taking these pot shots from the past. And instead of, this is my big gripe, okay? You are a journalist and you have an opportunity to interview the CEO of a company. And you can ask about a company that is making dramatic changes to its platform. It's a company that's fairly important in the world. And you can ask about what's coming in the future. What cool stuff are you doing? What are the challenges with that? And instead, you do like a tabloid style attack where you set up, the guy's ex-girlfriend to say what a rat he is. And then why is your girlfriend, why did you do this to your ex-girlfriend? Instead of like, okay, you had this transition. Maybe you could have, bringing this guy on as an ambush and then having an ambush interview. And I give Linda Yaccarino huge credit because when they did this surprise guest right before her as an obvious ambush, she could have said, all right, you guys ambushed me. I'm not coming on. You should have told me you were doing this beforehand. You didn't tell me beforehand you were doing this. You should have given me a chance. I'm not coming on. And instead, Linda Yaccarino showed tremendous class, got on there. She was clearly angry at being sandbagged, but she held that in and she answered the questions and she was consistently positive about what X is doing. And she consistently tried to say, maybe you'd be interested in this cool stuff we're doing and all these cool features we're bringing out. And it was just attack question after attack question after attack question from Jay Boorstin. I don't know who she is, some media idiot. And I'm just saying, and it's the same thing with Elon, right? You have the chance to interview Elon Musk. You could ask him about Mars, about space, about the moon, about robo-taxis, about artificial intelligence. And what do you want to talk to him about? You want to talk to him about hate speech. Very clear, I'm on X all the time. Hate speech is very limited, if it's there at all. Personally, I think hate speech should be allowed anyway, but very limited reach. When I do see it, it's, some reply from some account, it's a suppressed reply, it's under more replies and stuff like that. I think X is doing a remarkable job of making it a more engaging platform that has more interesting stuff. And they have a long way to go, and they're working on it, but they're making great I don't spend hardly any time at all on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on those platforms 5 minutes a day. and I'm on X like hours a day, hours a day. Much better platform. There's so much more going on. Like what's happening in the world is happening on X. You can see it live on X, basically live on X. Everything that's going on in the world. You want to know what's happening in the tech space? It's on X. You want to know what's happening in artificial intelligence? Follow Robert Scoble on X. And there's so much more going on. The conversations about what's going on with ChatGPT. He could have asked, how are you going to incorporate artificial intelligence into X? How are you going to use these conversations on X to train artificial intelligence? There's so much you could have asked her. There's so much an interviewer could ask Elon about the prospects for artificial intelligence, and instead, like the media's approach to talking to Elon or talking to or about Elon or talking about Linda Yaccarino or talking about X is let's pretend Boring Company doesn't exist. Let's pretend Neuralink doesn't exist. If we're going to talk about Neuralink, let's talk about dead monkeys. Let's not talk about helping humans who are paralyzed walk again. You know, it's like there's been no experiments on animals in the history of medicine, but now that Elon's company's doing it, somehow it's a problem. It's just like an endless stream of like attack, and you could be doing positive stories about the excitement of the future, and like I find that super exciting. If I hate speech, is that hate speech? Yes, it is. Sure. Get Dave Portnoy. He's a baller and unafraid of I don't know if he's unafraid of the media. Travis Kelce and Tay Tay. Oh, are the Chiefs playing right now? Did I schedule my stream at the wrong time? Is Tay Tay there? So apparently Taylor Swift. Oh my God. Apparently Taylor Swift is dating Kansas City Chiefs tight end. I think he's a tight end, Travis Kelce. And this is like the hottest thing. And I personally think the only thing that could be hotter than Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce is if AOC would finally agree to date Elon. That would be Elon Musk dating AOC would be like amazing. If they had a baby or two, that would be fun. I don't need sex tapes. We can leave that out. Anyway, so my suggestion to not just Elon's companies, but any company is if you're going to do an interview, I mean, if you're Jeff Bezos, I would say this is wise. If you are, Tim Cook from Apple, if you're the guy's name from Microsoft, I forget his name. It's an Indian guy now, is the CEO of Microsoft. I can't think of his name. Whatever, if you're from a major company and you're going to be interviewed, insist that the interview be live streamed somewhere that's accessible to everyone. Refuse to do interviews that are closed for closed audiences because you're going to get sandbagged. You're at risk of being sandbagged. You're at risk of having an ambush. You're at risk of having the story misinterpreted. And you want people to at least, the mainstream media is going to misinterpret whatever happens, but you want people to have immediate access to the full video so they can see it for themselves. Linda Yaccarino was awesome in that interview. Especially when you take into account that she had just been ambushed, the fact that she came on, that she stayed strong, and that she was consistently positive about what's going on at X, I think she did a fantastic job. And if you didn't see the video and you just read what other people were saying about it, say, oh, she's terrible, she's not a good CEO. Well, why would you rely on mainstream media saying that? And even like Jason Calacanis said something that was kind of negative. Like, what are you talking about? I thought she did a great job. The only option she had was to not show up, and then that would have been a story too. So she did a great job. And then with the full video, it's clear. So just my opinion, if you are an executive with Elon's companies and other companies, you should insist that the video be live streamed, ideally on X, because X is a free speech platform. You don't have to worry that it's going to be censored by YouTube. It's going to be reach is going to be limited by YouTube. That there's going to be some sort of demonetization or other issue that's going to detract from the success of the video, so more people can see it, so more people can find it. You could do it on Rumble. You could insist that it be on Rumble. You could insist that it be on the Locals platform. But I think for the widest access, put it on X or put it on YouTube. But again, with YouTube, you got the problem that there's censorship. There's YouTube gaming their algorithms to make it harder for people to find videos. I think X is going to do a better job of that. I want to ask Elon if Tesla or SpaceX will do the R&D and manufacture of water filtration, life support, and if it can help water desalination, lithium extraction. I don't think they need to do anything with lithium extraction. I mean, Tesla's might be working on lithium extraction. What water filtration and life support is something that SpaceX has to do for space. So Taylor's not as smart as Elon facts. Taylor's pretty smart. Taylor Swift is a pretty smart person. And also, she's just cute. She's just cute as a button. When she's done with Travis Kelce, if she wants to, get with a real man and have great babies, I'm ready for her. These are the most exciting times in our lives, and my kids' eyes would roll at that one. These are the most exciting times in our lives regarding technology, and the only thing youth cares about is social issues. Have they all been brainwashed? Well, let me talk about that, Philip. I'm going to get a little political here for a second. Let me take this off. I think a lot of people have been brainwashed in a way. And the way that I mean by that is if you are partisan Republican and you consume partisan Republican media, or you are partisan Democrat and you consume partisan Democrat media, or you're stuck in the media platforms that are partisan Republican, partisan Democrat, and you try to triangulate the truth between the two of them, there are topics that they don't talk about. And there are conversations that I have with people, and I call it the blank stare questions. I will ask somebody a question like, how many countries do you think the United States should have troops in? Or how many countries do you think we do have troops in? And people respond with a blank stare. The answer is we have troops in over 170 countries. We don't have bases in over 100. We have something like 800 bases around the world. We have troops in over 170 countries. Not all of them are on bases. Not all of them are like combat troops ready to fight. But we do have troops in over 170 countries. Is that a number that you're comfortable with? What number would you like? And people just haven't even thought about that topic. Name a country that you think we should have troops in and why. And that one, occasionally with the answer South Korea, probably the best answer I hear, and I could have a conversation about that. But Alex Nutcasio, Warren, aren't you a bit old? I'm the right age. A woman might feel she's too young, but I'm a perfect age. I am exactly the right age. I am experienced. I am prepared. I am educated. I am in great health. I've got great references as a dad. I am perfect. Oh, she's 35? That's a little old. I thought she was 33. 35? She's right at the edge of my limit. I don't know if I can go that old. For her, I would make an exception for Taylor. Okay, I just, I want to comfort you guys if you're concerned. All right. Kind of shooting for 30, but if it's Taylor Swift, I'll do 35. Nobody told me I had a thread on my sleeve. Come on. No, but seriously, I'm perfectly healthy. Look at this. Look at this, baby. Woo! Yee. I've been hitting the gym every day. I'm rocking. Cardio day yesterday. Cardio day was not great because my knee was starting to hurt. I did more cardio the day before. I'm crushing it. Okay, so let's go into the chat. I'm going to be talking more about my personal stuff. First, sorry, I'm going to be going live on the Daily Lie in about 15 minutes. Probably going to end this stream in about 5 minutes. I'm going to go on the Daily Lie in about, and I haven't set up a stream yet. It's not letting me program the stream to start at the time I want to start. For some reason, it's quirky. So, are the let's go with this question. Sorry. So I'm going to be going live. I'm going to talk about Tesla Japan, what I think the prospects are for Tesla to succeed in Japan. And I'm going to talk about my own personal life and what I'm doing here and what I'm thinking about doing next. So Jay Morgan says, are the Japanese people aware of the population collapse in their country? They are aware that population is declining. I think a lot of people don't know the nature of how it's playing out. So I'm in Nagoya, which is one of the largest cities of Japan, and I would say the large cities in Japan: Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Nagoya, Fukuoka, Yokohama, Sendai. Probably, I don't know about Sendai. The large cities in Japan are thriving. They are actually thriving. I see a very active, very lively economy, very lively society. It's the smaller cities and then especially the small towns that are suffering right now. And the question is whether that will follow. Bill says, have you seen Thunderfoot's new hit piece on Elon? No, I haven't. Don't care to. Not interested. Let's put it in perspective. What would it cost the U.S. to fight Russia alone? Why would we fight Russia at all? Russia is a third world country. It's a third world kleptocracy with an economy smaller than Texas and maybe smaller than Florida. Why do we need to fight Russia? Russia's a paper tiger or paper bear. Russia's a dying bear. Don't poke the bear. Let the bear crawl back in its cave and die. Don't poke it. We've been poking the bear. I don't want to get political, but if you want to pretend that we haven't been poking the bear, you're just not paying attention. And why are we poking China? I mean, they're not perfect, but is it really that bad of a country? I mean, they've embraced capitalism. Maybe we should encourage them. Maybe we should work with them. Any tips on losing weight? I'm struggling with food, not working out. I don't think I'm the best person to ask this. I can only say what I'm doing for myself. I'll talk about that right now. I don't think I'm going to talk about that in the next stream, so I'll talk about this now. Number one, I walk a lot. I'm in Japan, very walkable place. So it's easy to walk a lot. I don't own a car. Number two, I go to the gym every day. I do strength training almost every day, pretty much every day, and then I do cardio roughly 2 days a week. I do. I'm on like a 5-day cycle, and I do cardio one of those days, and maybe I squeeze in some extra cardio another day. I don't think cardio is nearly as important as I used to think, but building muscle mass is really important. So, follow Peter Attia and work on strength. Number one, work on strength training, and then the second thing is think about what you eat. But you want to burn more calories than you eat. You want to lose weight, you need to burn more calories than you eat. So number one, you got to burn more calories, and number two, you got to eat less calories. Alex says Japan has the highest suicide rate in the world. Why? I think there's a lot of stress in Japanese society. There's just a lot of stress in Japanese society, and there's a cultural acceptance of suicide as a way out, which is not culturally accepted in Judeo-Christian societies, and I'm not sure, probably not in Muslim societies either. First bullet train in Orlando to Miami, 3 hours, $180. It's not a bullet train. I'm not sure it's going to succeed. It's $180, really? Because I can go from Nagoya to Tokyo in like 90 minutes for like $50 or something. Get Thai or Philippine chicks. I don't care about an 18-year-old. 30-year-old's fine. And I don't know Thai culture or Filipino culture. I know Japanese culture. Will you be healthy when your kid turns 16? That's the whole point of working out. That's why I'm going to the gym. I'm 57 now. I want to be in good shape in 20 years. So if I hit the gym every day and I eat healthy and my resting pulse is great, my blood pressure is great, I don't have a pre-existing history of medical history that's bad. I had a cardiac calcium score. That number was really good. It wasn't zero, but it was really close to zero. I've done cardiac stress tests, whatever. I've checked out in every way. Alex, I do own 2 cars. They're not in Japan. I own a Model X and a Model 3. They just happen to be in America. And I'm sort of selling the Model X. Somebody took over the payments. Japan real estate, really good deals, suburbs of Tokyo. I haven't looked at buying real estate. I think that I don't think that the real estate is going to increase in value in Japan. I'd rather own Tesla stock. Rent is cheap. You can eat sushi every day. Honestly, there's a lot of great Japanese food. I'm eating a lot of different stuff. I don't eat sushi every day because there's a lot of other cool stuff to eat. Do some facial procedures in Japan or South Korea, go 10 to 20 years younger. I haven't thought about that. Maybe the next country. Parking is expensive. I think parking is expensive in Japan. I'm not actually sure. A lot of people that hole up inside and don't come out too. There's Herbivore Men, and there's another one. Elon should offer Ford and GM Tesla bot. Japan has fantastic trains. I don't know if they're better trains than European trains, but they have great trains here. I've been on the bullet train multiple times in Japan. I love the bullet train. It's called the Shinkansen for New Trunk Line. Age doesn't stop guys like Trump, Mick Jagger, and Chuck Norris still hits the bag. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm not as strong as I was when I was younger, but I'm in very good shape. Let's say 20 years ago, but I'm in better physical shape than the average. So I'm 57. I'm in better physical shape than the average 35-year-old American male on almost every measure. Strength is a tough one because as you get older, you lose strength, and it's hard to replace strength. But muscle mass, I'm okay. And my body fat ratio is still a little higher than I'd like it to be. I'd like to get that down. What's the most obscure food you have eaten here? I don't know. That's a tough one. I eat a lot of stuff I like. I avoid the stuff I don't like. So there's something called I haven't eaten horumon. Horumon is basically like intestinal meat, and I'm not eating that. And there's at least the restaurants say it right up front that they're selling it. You know, like rectum. I'm not interested in eating rectum. I'm sorry. Hikikomori. Yes, that's the people who are hiding out in their homes. You can buy abandoned houses in Japan cheap, but they're not in great shape, and it's a lot of money to fix them up. Are there a lot of Westerners where you are? Nagoya has a lot of Westerners. There's a lot of manufacturing in Nagoya, and there's a lot of foreigners brought in for that. There's a lot of foreigners teaching English here. I would say Nagoya has more than average for Japan as a whole. Tokyo, Kyoto, the big cities have a fair number of foreigners, Westerners. Al Pacino, and there's another older guy like that who just had a kid too, yeah. Shinkansen Nozomi. I did ride the Nozomi. That's the fastest train. I didn't notice a difference between the Nozomi and the Kodama, which is the slowest bullet train. Podcar progress. I'll be talking about that on the Daily Lie in 8 minutes. And what do I feel about this statement? Tesla will see their first plateau in growth in 2024, but will skyrocket in 2025. No, I think Tesla is going to grow significantly in 2024. I would say that I don't think we're seeing a plateau. I haven't tried natto yet. I'm not going to talk about... I don't know what that kind of sushi is. I did see whale meat. I didn't try it. I didn't go in the restaurant. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to wrap this live stream up now. Yes, I am a fan. I will say that. Japan's work ethic, the work ethic of the Japanese people and the customer service in Japan is far and away better than what I see in America generally. Great work ethic. And I occasionally buy stuff from Japanese vending machines, but I don't need to, so I don't bother much. I go to stores. I don't think Japanese vending machines are nearly as exciting. Once you live here, they're not that exciting. You need something from a vending machine, you get it, but you don't. When will Cybertruck be released? I'm guessing this month, but I'm only guessing. So yeah, and I've avoided the horse meat. There's actually a horse meat sushi. I think there's a horse meat sushi or sashimi too. I'm not on a no-carb diet. I'm relatively low-carb. So thanks very much for watching. Please check out the Daily Lie, warrenredlich.locals.com. It's pinned at the top of the chat. I will be on there in about 5 minutes, going live, talking about Tesla Japan, and then talking about some pretty big plans in my personal life, which are sort of up in the air, but pretty sure what's going on. So we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. Thank you so much for watching.